Okay, welcome back, people, to episode 3 of Notes from a Jewish Newbie. I'm your host, Adina. I'm not sure who I'm hosting here. It's just Finley and I in my bedroom. Finley's my dog, in case you didn't already know that. But today I'm going to talk about a topic that is one of my most commonly asked questions. How did you take on Tznius? Tznius is a very deep and complicated topic, I think, for all of us. One of the questions I get asked in my speeches is, what is your favorite mitzvah? What's your hardest mitzvah? And the answer to both of those questions is Tznius. And I think a lot of the girls in the room here can agree with me. But I'm here to talk to you about how I went from dressing like a South Florida bartender, South Florida bottle girl, to now a nice Jewish girl. And I think I'll just start the episode off with a little secret. I don't like jeans. Okay. Hi, everyone. It's Adina or Adriana, whatever you want to call me. And you are listening to the NJN podcast, Notes from a Jewish Newbie. That's me. Powered by Meaningful Minute. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to episode 3 of Notes from a Jewish Newbie. I'm your host, Adina. Not sure who I'm hosting. It's just myself. Well, actually, Finley's here, my dog. So welcome to my 3rd episode, where I'm going to talk about one of my most commonly asked questions, one of my most complimented aspects of my conversion, and also one of my most critiqued, Tznius. But before I start this episode, I think I'd like to start with a disclaimer, being that even though I feel like this episode will be talking mostly about how I found Tznius and, yes, my clothing, how I started to take on only wearing skirts, dresses, how I first started, how my parents let me dress growing up, how I started to dress when I went to Florida State and I became a bartender when I was a bottle girl, why I dressed that way, and how I even learned what the word Tznius meant. And it was actually not even in my conversion. I learned that a very, very, very long time ago when I got kicked off my nanny kid's school campus. But the disclaimer I want to make is I'm fully aware that Tznius is more than just how we dress. As women, I think everybody in the room here can relate and say that's just one of the hardest aspects, because it's what we have to face, the worldly challenges. Do we fit in? Are we able to shop the newest trend at Aritzia? Are we able to feel cool when it's literally a 95-degree heat wave in New York? But Tznius is actually one of the most beautiful mitzvahs. And when people ask me in my speeches, what is my favorite mitzvah and what is my hardest mitzvah, the answer to both of those questions is Tznius. That's because it's my biggest insecurity. I feel like I know I'll never make everybody happy, but what's most important, and I'm so proud of, is that I've made Hashem happy with my journey and growth, and I am only in my Judaism and in my journey with my conversion as a Jewish girl, which is so exciting to say to this day, is everything. So I hope I can share some of that with you guys. So I hope that this journey inspires you. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. So growing up, I was raised in a pretty conservative family. Like, I was Christian, I went to private school, so we had uniforms. In high school, I got to go to school without uniforms, but my parents, I was still able to wear pants, of course. I was still able to wear shorts, skirts. My argument with my mom growing up in high school was always just, I wanted to wear the super, super, super short Hollister shorts like all the other girls wore. If you grew up in my era, you guys know the struggle. And I was never allowed to wear the super short ones, but I was allowed to wear the midi ones, the American Eagle ones. I remember in high school, we were not allowed to wear tank tops. No high schools, even a public school, will not let you wear tank tops. And we used to always say, but they'll let our shorts be so short. What's so provocative about a shoulder? And here I am now in the Jewish world saying to myself in the mirror, what's so provocative about an elbow? We'll get into that later. But my point is, I didn't grow up necessarily, obviously, having any sort of religious trauma or modesty trauma within my childhood. But at the end of the day, I did still sometimes struggle and fight with my parents. Whereas some of the girls listening here might have been fighting with their parents where they told them, you need to put on a skirt, you need to put on a long sleeve shirt. But for me, I was just fighting with my parents to not be dressed like God knows what, because the fact that some of these girls wear these things these days is beyond me. Anyways, then I got to Florida State University. I was let loose. I could do whatever I wanted, meaning I worked at a really popular bar, and Florida State's a massive, it's a big party school. And I was like, wow, I could actually wear whatever I want. I started getting a job. I could buy my own clothing. And I basically took on whatever trends, even if they didn't look good on me, that everyone else did. Another thing I just want to add, which I think is just so funny, that I ended up working for the Jewish community where, all of my viewers are mainly from New York, New Jersey, and if they live in Florida, they came from New York, New Jersey area. But with that being said, people from South Florida, they just dress differently. We are always wearing, I feel like, even compared a non-Jewish girl from South Florida versus a non-Jewish girl from New York, we're wearing different clothing. And in South Florida, you're just always wearing tank tops, beach clothes, flip-flops, shorts, you're headed to the beach. It is normal to walk into Publix wearing like half of your beach outfit. That's not normal in New York. So that's number one of why I feel like it was just so funny of all the people to hire. That's who got hired for the Orthodox Jewish community. And when I got hired for the Orthodox Jewish community as a nanny, yes, I didn't change a single thing about how I dressed. In fact, I would go walk in all the religious neighborhoods and I would be wearing my Orange Theory outfit, like shorts, leggings, tank tops, sports bras, whatever. And I would go drop the kids off from school, but you wouldn't usually get out of the car. And my nanny families are all Kiddush Hashem. They literally never, ever, ever once said anything to me ever. I never even thought like twice. I didn't even like pick up. I didn't even hop like, oh, they're all wearing skirts. They're all wearing long sleeves. Like maybe I should wear. It wasn't until the kids would say stuff. But the first time I really realized what is Tznius and heard this word, Tznius, was when I got kicked off my nanny kids' religious school in Boca. Basically, at this point, I was working for the family, but I never had picked them up from school at this point. And the mom said, by the way, can you pick them up from school? There's a book fair. I told them they could go. I was like, okay, for sure. Pick them up from school, park the car, get out of the car. And like, at this point, it's like COVID time. So like, anyways, they had this book fair outside in a tent. I walk up and they're like, stop right there. I'm thinking that the reason I can't like go over to this tent is because like there's too many people there. It's like COVID, 6 feet apart. And they're like, stop right there. I'm like, what is it that you need? We're like, well, we're here to shop for books. They're like, we'll just bring them to like the hood of your car. And I'm like, okay, okay. And I'm just like standing there not thinking anything of it. They bring all the books to my car. And then like, yeah, at this point I'm wearing like an aloe tennis skirt and like tank top, like whatever. And they're just like, this is a religious campus. And like, you're making some people uncomfortable. And I was like, what? Like, I didn't even think twice about it. My nanny kid was like, why can't you just put on a jacket? Like, we could go over there. I'm like, I don't think a jacket is fixing this right now. And that was when I was like, okay, what is Tznius? Because for me, I always knew like, okay, like a super, super short skirt or a super, super short pair of shorts is not appropriate, even though I was still wearing it. But I didn't understand like, no, like skirts only, or no, like shoulders, collarbone, like knees. Like I did not understand Tznius. So that is when I started like waking up and looking around me and started saying, I'm going to learn everything there is to know about this like Tznius. And that's actually how my TikTok videos first started and how I started modeling for Tznius clothing brands, because I didn't want to buy an entire new wardrobe for like all my nanny jobs. So I basically started making videos about how I would make a typical not Tznius outfit, Tznius. I would also like kind of go shopping and then get excited when I saw something like, oh, this is Tznius, like this is Tznius, this is Tznius. And all my non-Jewish friends at the time, like we knew it, we knew the word. We'd be like, oh, he looks so Tznius, because it was starting to become a trend in fashion, thank God. But moving on to how I actually ended up taking Tznius on in my conversion. If you guys are not shopping with the PZ Deals app, what are you doing? This completely changed my life when it comes to shopping on Amazon. I used to impulse buy Amazon things. I've been on WhatsApp chats, Facebook pages, but this is an actual app on my phone, doesn't take up my phone storage, and I can set alerts to notify me for the exact items I want on sale, versus scrolling on Amazon, scrolling on these chats, and just being tempted to impulse buy things I don't actually need. But let's be honest, I need everything when it's a good deal. Not to mention, it doesn't just have Amazon. Unlike most of the WhatsApp chats and groups I've found, it has Sephora, it has Saks, it has Bloomingdale's, it has Target. I mean, it's pretty dangerous, but how dangerous could it be? It's saving us money. Girl math. And if you're a husband watching this and you don't know what girl math means, it's not for you to know. I mean, I'm looking at the app right now, and although it's pretty tempting because I have a very hard time not buying things that I don't actually need when they're this cheap. Pizza oven with stone, $28. So cute. You can see all the different apps. Seriously, where was this when I was moving into my apartment? Impulse buying a million things that I don't need and missing all the sales. So from now on, I'll be using PZ Deals. Guys, I actually can't stop scrolling. I need all this stuff, which I don't need it, but I need it. Okay, back to the episode. I feel like by the time I was ready to convert, I fully knew what Tznius was. I knew a full Tznius, at least for Boca community standards, was like elbows, collarbones, knees, covered, skirts, dresses only, to the fact like where I went on my Pesach program in Greece, and then that's when I given my speeches, I was like, wait, why is everyone not dressed Tznius? Like that was my first exposure to Jews who didn't dress Tznius, who dressed in different varying levels of Tznius, and then I was the one being confused for Jewish girl on the program because I looked so Tznius, I looked so Jewish. But it was really just because I thought it was like what I had to wear. And so I always knew if I'm going to do this conversion, I need to eventually look like my nanny moms in Boca. And I'm so thankful that the rabbis who were involved in my conversion They never pushed me. They let me grow naturally. And that is the exact way that I really wish that everybody had that experience with Tznius, but unfortunately they don't. And that's why when I give speeches, I say like, I'm here to humbly admit that I do not have a religious trauma or a modesty trauma with Tznius. I was so lucky and thankful that I got to take on, and I still get to choose my level of Tznius. But I still face critiques just like all of you. I'll tell that story in a bit. But essentially, Tznius was probably one of the most intimidating factors of my conversion. I think anybody about Tshuva who's becoming more religious, that is, as girls, one of our most intimidating factors because it's hard. It's hard when it's hot outside. It's hard when you can't be the only girl like on the boat wearing the same bathing suit as your friends. It's really hard when it's the only fashion trend that like is in style right now and you are not. Like, what do I wear to the bar? What do I wear to a concert? What do I wear when it's freezing cold outside? But with that being said, let's just get into how in my conversion, I took on Tznius. So at this point, I just mentioned about like going on my Pesach program. I already knew what a full Tznius was. I already had that type of clothing because I was doing work already in the fashion influencer world with like modest fashion companies. And I remember getting excited even back in the day as a nanny, even with my non-Jewish friends, like shopping in the mall, we would say, oh my gosh, look, it's Tznius. And I even got so excited when I would go to a non-Jewish store and find Tznius clothing. And then I would get so excited when I went to a Jewish store and it was like, oh my gosh, it's Tznius and it looks like normal clothing. I always say shout out Jupe, Miamad. Those are some of the two, Coverage, Shira on Fringe. Those are some of the 2, 3, 4 companies I worked with in the very beginning as a fashion blogger influencer that sent me clothing that I could pair it, style it different ways, and they had all different levels of Tznius that I was taking on Tznius as a non-Jewish person and not even realizing it because that's where the journey started, falling in love with this outfit's cute and so is this outfit. When I would compare getting dressed in the morning as a non-Jew, as a girl that wasn't even converting, I would either, yes, of course, when I was working as a nanny job, I would dress fully Tznius depending on the family. If I had to go to the school, like I said, I was not making that mistake one more time. I remember the second time I remember another time I showed up to the school and they were like, are you their sister? And I was like, nope. Oh. Yeah, I would definitely dress for the occasion. But then I would also have no problem going to the bar for a happy hour or going out to dinner with my friends and be like, yeah, I just got off of work and this is my Tznius outfit today. I began back then not even seeing my outfits as this is Tznius, I can't wear it for anywhere else unless I'm with the Jewish community. I just started to see them as this is a cute outfit, that is a cute outfit. And that's exactly what I did when I started taking on Tznius in my conversion. I'm so thankful that the rabbis I worked with were just gracious and let me grow at my own pace because unfortunately, not everybody gets that experience, but that is the best way to develop a real, true love and connection with the mitzvah that you're going to keep. And that's what my rabbis and rabbitzins did with everything I did in my conversion. Shabbos, kosher, Tznius. I just in my kosher episode explained how I took everything on gradually. You won't hear that from a lot of converts. You won't hear that from a lot of Baal Tshuvas. A lot of Baal Tshuvas, a lot of converts, a lot of people who are growing in their like religiosity at all. They will just wake up and they'll say, that's it. I'm no longer eating treif. That's it. I am no longer wearing pants. And they will that day throw out all of their pants. I remember like being on TikTok and seeing these people, like they were converts, like come with me, I'm converting with Judaism. They all make accounts about it. And as I was doing my conversion in private, I would watch them. And here I was having such a love for Torah, having a kosher home, going to Torah classes, observing Judaism, keeping Shabbos. But here I was like, I love Hashem. And I was wearing shorts and a tank top. And I used to look at them, I get emotional. And I would say like, why am I not like them? I remember going to my rabbi and I showed him one of the girls' videos and she's like black and white, turtleneck, stockings. Like she looks like one of you guys, someone's from birth, right? And I was like, why am I not like them? Like, why is that okay? Is the Beis Din, I'm always so insecure. Is that why the Beis Din is not responding? I remember near the end of my conversion, I was like, is the Beis Din not converting me because I wear short sleeves? Because if that's the case, like I will wear long sleeves, but I promise you, like I'm not doing it because of like love. I don't understand at this point. My rabbi laughed at me and he said, there's so much more to Judaism and Tznius than the sleeve length and the skirt length. And he said, you're doing fine. And like, we all see your neshama. And my rabbi also told me that the person who takes, there's a Hebrew saying for it, I'm not going to try to pronounce it. Shout out to my Tom's River family who taught me this saying in Hebrew as well over Shabbos. It's Batsheva and Rabbi Mordechai. They taught me this saying as well in Hebrew, but the person who grabs too much doesn't grab anything at all. And with Shabbos, with kosher, with Tznius, my rabbis just like, let me learn and my neshama change from the inside because my rabbis just let me learn and grow and my neshama change from the inside, because once your neshama changes from the inside and connects to whatever mitzvah you're trying to take on, it eventually gets stronger and stronger and grows so much brighter that then it has to shine outside of your body. It has to reflect in your clothing. It has to reflect on your behavior. And then I feel like it reflects on the way you treat other people. As Jews, we're put on this earth to be a light unto the nations. And I always say that as a convert, I feel I was born with this little tiny speck inside me that was a light. It was a piece of my neshama. It grew, it grew, it grew, it grew throughout my conversion. And eventually it grew so big that it changed. And as we're discussing Tznius specifically, it changed my clothing. But then I was still acting my same ways. But then it changed my demeanor. And then it even went a step further and it shined so much brighter that I now go out of my way, I think, to be actively kind to people, actively try to help people and give speeches on Tznius. And now my light, I pray to Hashem every day to make me a vessel so that I can carry out whatever message I'm meant to carry out, but to make me a light to help other girls, even if I'm not perfect, which a lot of people love to remind me I'm not, but that's okay. And I'm okay to share that with you guys. But back to the logistics of things, I remember crying to my rabbi and saying, why am I not like this? And he said, don't worry about it. I said to my rebbitzin, am I right? Am I bad? Am I bad? Do you think I'm a bad person? Am I wrong for not doing this or that? And she said, no. She gave me a couple Torah quotes, sources, Shulchan Aruch, things of maybe why they do one thing. But she also shared with me that as a rebbitzin, she even has been criticized before for, showing an elbow when she was too hot, or changing her sweater in the middle of a plane and somebody judging her for it. And I was like, wow. Another reminder why I did my conversion in private, because here I was fully converting to Orthodox Judaism. I did not look like an Orthodox Jewish girl, and that was okay. My neshama was still growing. But every single morning I would wake up and I would see all my non-Tznius clothing hanging in my closet and all my Tznius clothing. And I would, like I said before, say, this outfit's cute, but so is this outfit. And I would wear the Yakira Bella dress. Like I said before, Yakira Bella, Jupe, Coverage, Miamad, those were all some of the companies that helped me take on Tznius, because even though each of those companies has faced critiques where people have said, you're a terrible Jew for opening a business that sells not fully Tznius clothing, I want to rip those people a new one. I literally want to just scream it to the rooftops that is the only reason I took on Tznius, because these companies existed, because I was not strong enough and I did not feel connected enough to take on a level of Tznius that was so yeshivish looking, but I was able to take on a skirt that was maybe a little bit above my knees, maybe a lot above my knees. Maybe this company like Jupe does a lot of they'll sell tank tops, but it's a high neck. So then you just have to pair it with a jacket. Pretend this shirt was a tank top. You just have to pair it with a jacket and then it's a Tznius outfit. That's beautiful. And that's what helped me, because it was not so intimidating to me. I always tell girls when they're first taking on Tznius to not put labels on yourself. So in my journey, if I bought a tank top, I never told myself, but I'm never going to wear that alone. I do now. But I love to get things that I could style both ways, because it gave me the confidence to say, if I don't like it the Tznius way, I could wear it whatever way I wanted. But eventually Hashem had other plans. And after connecting to so many books, and like I said, my neshama just truly growing and changing and falling in love with being a Jewish woman, I found myself always gravitating towards the most Tznius option. And my private organizer, which is actually one of my shul moms, Bracha Harwitz, her husband's the chazan at our shul. They're an amazing family, and she came and organized my bedroom. And I remember that at one point, half of the closet was my Tznius clothing, and I said, yeah, and keep this rack for my not Tznius clothing. And then probably by the end of my conversion, I sent her a picture of my closet, and I said, look, Bracha, the non-Tznius clothing is it's dwindling down. And I feel like I hung on up until the point that I moved to New York. I hung on to my not Tznius clothing, even after not wearing it for years, because I feel that I wasn't ready to label myself. I wasn't ready to put that pressure. Maybe it's a non-committal type of quality, but it was okay. But I actually felt looking back, wow, I was so proud of myself that I had the free will every single day to go in my drawer and wear those pants, to go wear that tank top. And every single day I chose to wear the more Tznius option. I didn't even think about it. It was under my nose the entire time. Like I mentioned before, a lot of people will say, when I'm taking on Tznius, I am going to throw out all my skirts. Today's the day. We're going to cut them up. We're going to have a party. I never did that. My not Tznius clothing is way too expensive for that. I still need to sell it, but I don't know where I'm going to sell it, because I can't sell it to any Jewish people on my platform. But essentially, I left it in my room, and I think that made me stronger with that mitzvah. But probably the number one word of advice I give to people who are taking on Tznius on any level is, don't label yourself. Don't sit here and tell yourself. We just learned in a couple parshas ago, it's actually a very serious sin to vow to Hashem, I am never doing this again, and then to do it. I think more than anything, don't label yourself, don't put pressure. Just one day, gradually just start to push yourself to choose the more tznius option without throwing out all your other not tznius options. When I took on tznius, I did not walk into my room one day and say, that's it. We're clearing out the room of all the non-tznius clothing. We're burning it. We're having, we're having a cutting party. We are throwing out all my pants. No, I never once said to my friends, that's it. I'm only tznius. I just let my neshama change. And every single day I actively chose to dress tznius. And that is what strengthened my mitzvah to become real. I mentioned earlier that the person who takes on too much or grabs too much doesn't grab anything at all. That is exactly, I really feel like that's the truth. I think the person who throws away all their clothing that is maybe not tznius and they weren't ready for it, they then long for it unnecessarily. I kind of compare it a little bit to the child who has never had candy. I've babysat children who have never had candy before. They don't even know what red dye number 440 is. And when they walk into a room with candy, they go crazy. They want it so bad. They think it's so special. It's like the undesirable object. It's like the forbidden fruit. But the child who has a pantry stocked of candy knows they can have candy whenever they want, but they actively say, I'll have candy this day, but I'll have fruit tomorrow. Like, I don't mind. I can have either. It makes that candy less desirable, less special, because it's no big deal. They could do it, but they don't want to. They want to have fruit today. And that was kind of the way that I took on tznius. Oh, this outfit's cute, and so is that outfit. Oh, I could wear pants, but instead I'm going to wear skirts because I have them both, and they both look cute. I also encourage people to look in the mirror, and if this is your outfit today with, instead of a khaki skirt, khaki pants, I encourage you to try them on with a khaki pair of pants. I encourage you to also try them on with a khaki skirt, and then tell yourself, if you think you look absolutely hideous, if you're going to feel awful the whole time, then don't do it. That'll reaffirm a poor relationship with tznius. But if you look at yourself and you say, I like both of these, you could love how you look in pants. You could love how you look in shorts. But if you don't hate and you also love how you look in a skirt, trust me, just wear it and try that outfit for once. And you might find yourself changing and realizing this is also so cute. A big part of my journey and my conversion was when I did everything in private. The biggest critique and the biggest question I always got every gala I went to, every event, oh my gosh, you're like the most tznius one here. Oh my gosh, like why are you wearing like such a tznius outfit? I actually made a pretty viral video. People would always say to me when I was traveling, why do you wear skirts with leggings if you don't have to? And I would just say with like all my tznius outfits, I'd say, is my outfit not cute? Like when, and this happens not just to converts, not to people who are converting in secret, to people who are taking on any level of tznius. If you have friends, parents, people who are making you feel a little bit bad or awkward about like, oh, like, why are you wearing a skirt? What, is my outfit not cute? Because trust me, like I knew my outfits were cute. Hello, I'm good at fashion. And then they go, well, I mean like, yeah, it's so cute. I'm like, thank you. But you don't have to wear a skirt. Yeah, but it's so cute. I like love it. I look so cute and cozy. I want to be warmer. Like that's all you have to say. You don't have to explain yourself. Oh, I'm wearing a skirt because, in the Shulchan Aruch, it says this, No, you just say, well, this is a cute outfit. You don't like my outfit? Done. Finito. The rest of the conversation's over. This is what I chose to wear today. This is how I chose to show up, and I love my outfit. But in my conversion, I feel like skirts was never hard for me to take on. I, in fact, want to tell you guys a secret. I don't like jeans. People literally send me messages and they're like, oh, but don't you just miss your jeans and tank tops? No, not at all. Maybe that's like what I honestly tell girls, like when I give speeches and girls are like, how did you stop wearing pants? A lot of girls love pants. A lot of them think they're so comfy. A lot of them think jeans are comfy. If you're somebody who you've never worn jeans, you never put them on, you're like, don't you just like wish you could? I did not like them. You guys, I was that girl in high school that was always texting my friend, like, do you want to wear a skirt with me today? Do you want to wear a dress with me today? Granted, that dress was like the shortest thing you'd ever see, but like, I always have loved wearing skirts and dresses. So that was a part of like the tznius, like that was very easy for me to take on. But I will say, I did always say, I'll never wear skirts and leggings because leggings is a place for the gym. The beach is a place for a bikini. And now I eat my words because Hashem had other plans, and now I'm a huge skirt and leggings girl. I have every level of like tznius bathing suit you can imagine, and I love all my options. But so never say never, because Hashem will make you laugh. So if you watched my first podcast episode, you watched me try my first ever Shabbat-friendly iced tea. No need for a tea essence here. I'm obsessed with the watermelon mint flavor. They also sent me the pineapple coconut. I still haven't tried the peach because I'm just too obsessed with these other flavors. But you start out with an ice glass of water, ice glass of water, and their little tea triangle pyramid bag. And let me put the mic down so I can show you how it works. Give it a little shake, even though you don't actually have to shake it. It starts to seep right away. And before your very eyes, you can see we are making some iced tea, but we're not creating on Shabbos. It's so good. Oh my gosh. I'm obsessed. So order on Amazon now the Wissotzky Cold Breeze Shabbat-friendly iced tea. So good. You can order Cold Breeze on Amazon. It's my first ever Shabbat-friendly tea. My Tznius observance went from not dressing as Tznius at all, but like learning Torah and loving Hashem, to then trying to dress Tznius just because like I thought I should, and like I would look very fully Tznius one day, and the next was like wearing a skirt, but like so short. I always say thank you to Mia Mod, because that was one of the first companies for skirts that, even though she specifically faced so much backlash in I think it was like her Lakewood store, that oh, you're selling like not Tznius clothing to girls. Well, that clothing store, even though the skirt I bought was way too short for like my height and like my size, it was the store that was the era of my life I started to only wear skirts. And then I gradually just got longer and longer skirts. And I always say thank you to Olive and Tuesday, because those are all the black circle skirts I wear. That was the first skirt with leggings I thought actually looked super cute. And now I have an entire closet full of them. So those are the two skirt companies that I owe so much of my Tznius transition to. And then Yakira Bella, they're, like I said, this is like me publicly saying thank you to these companies, because that was another company where I feel like gave my Florida style. I could wear cute little sundresses, but they're super mindful about the sleeve length. For example, this jacket is from Yakira Bella. It's covering my elbow. And those are the types of things that were being sent to me. And I'm so thankful because even though some people would critique them being mixed Tznius, that's what I needed. And that's how I got to where I am today. So never critique somebody for not being a perfect level of Tznius, because it's a stepping stone. And if you go from 0 to 100 so quickly, it's not going to be real. It's going to be fake. And when you get into an environment where you're maybe the only Jew in the entire room, where nobody cares if you're wearing skirts or leggings or bikini, you're going to have struggles. And I remember in my conversion, I had not much of a relapse of Tznius, because you can't really relapse if you never put a label on yourself. But I did remember a time where I started to realize Tznius is more than just what you wear. Tznius is more than the skirt you put on and the clothing itself. It's what's inside of you. And it was when I was fully keeping Shabbos, fully like eating kosher. Maybe I was eating mixed kosher at this point, but I was dressing Tznius for the most part, because most of the things in my life were always revolving around Judaism and Jewish events and stuff anyway. So it was easy for me. But I remember I got invited to like a bar crawl with my non-Jewish friends, and it was themed. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to wear like whatever I wanted. And I went from being like dressing sometimes fully Tznius, sometimes mixed Tznius. I remember this event was on a Thursday, and I went to the bar Thursday night, and I was dressed like not Tznius. I remember trying to like mix my Tznius. Like it was still a dress, but it was super short, like not Tznius at all, according to the standards of the Jewish Orthodox community in my town. But I remember that was like the first time I stood in that moment and felt like, just like that, just by going back to the same bars I used to be at, and just by wearing my same outfits that I used to wear as a non-Jewish girl, as a girl who didn't convert, who didn't even know what Judaism really was, I was transported back to my old life. And it was so easy. It was so easy and such a slippery slope to just be like my old life again. And not that there was anything wrong with my old life, but then I found it so much easier to then want that non-kosher pizza that my friends were eating, to then say like, oh, I'm literally supposed to keep Shabbos tomorrow. And like, look how easy it was just to like come back to this life. And I didn't like it. And I hated it. But then I remember a couple of months later, I went out with my friends again. And this time I dressed Tznius. I intentionally dressed Tznius in the environment that I knew was not Tznius, that I knew was from my past life, that was not a religious environment. It was secular. And I completely noticed that my entire demeanor, my entire mindset changed the entire night. The way I acted, the way I behaved, what I wanted to do. I remember standing there and saying, I just don't like this life anymore. And it even helped me in the sense that, what was I going to do? Even if I was tempted to go eat that non-kosher pizza. I know that sounds a little dramatic, but it made me realize there was such an impact on the way I dressed and how it reflected my insides and reminded me. It's kind of, I feel like the concept of like why men wear like a kippah on their head. So to this day, if I'm ever going to a concert, if I'm ever in a place or an environment where like maybe I'm the only Jewish person, or like I maybe would feel like tempted in a not Tznius environment, I will intentionally dress more Tznius, because I know that it will hold me. It'll hold me like accountable. Like when I dress Tznius in a not Tznius environment, like in a concert, some secular environment, like whatever, maybe I'm the only Jewish person there, I don't know. it completely helps me like embody like my Judaism. And I don't know how to explain it, but that's the first time I realized like that tznius is more than just what we wear. It might just look like an article of clothing, but it completely, I felt like protected me. And I think what really made tznius come alive for me was when I just completely fell in love with being a Jewish woman as a whole. I always mention this book. I call it my tznius book, and it's by Rabbi Shimshon Pinkas. It's Nefesh Chaya, the unique avodas of a Jewish woman. I mention it in all my speeches, and one of my shul moms gave it to me one time, and she said, there's a lot of like intense stuff here. Like the rabbi who wrote it is very intense. But it was the only book I found that mentions hair covering and tznius and didn't mention it just because, oh, we dress tznius so that you don't tempt the men, or we cover our hair out of modesty or out of respect for your husband. It was just so beautiful that this book changed the entire way I defined like my feminine power, if you will. It made me love being a Jewish woman. It did the opposite that I feel like society tries to teach women, that, oh, the way that you feel empowered as a woman is my body, my choice. I can wear whatever I want. I remember as a bartender dressing in our uniform, and obviously like it's not modest, but thinking like, I feel so powerful right now that like I might look like this, but like, too bad, like this is just how I look, but like, you know, I'm in control and you're not gonna get my number. And I remember like people saying to me, like, you're such a nice girl, like let me take you out of a life like this, like, you know, you're such a nice girl, like why do you work at a job like you know, at a beach bar or something? And I was like, just because I'm a nice girl doesn't mean I can't get my check on the weekends. Hello, like what? Like I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go nanny in the morning. Like I was like, that what does that have to do? But I realized people did view me differently based on like what I wore. And then even in the Jewish community, I noticed that when I would go to galas dressed tznius, I noticed like, men started asking me if they could hug me. Men stopped putting their arm around me when they went to take a photo with me. Men started to ask, can I shake your hand? Are you shomer? Because I was displaying my inside morals on the outside. And there's a lot of ways, like, you know, I feel like a lot of the cliche concepts of tznius is just like, oh, you know, like more covered is more respected. And you know, you look like such a princess. Like that's all true. I love looking like a princess. But the truth is my insides changed through this book, through just completely changing my life and observing the Orthodox Jewish way. And I didn't look at all the details in the Shulchan Aruch. I didn't look at all the Torah. You know, people send really nasty messages to me about all the nitty gritty details of this and that. I didn't look at all those details because I didn't need those details to take on the mitzvahs that I took on in any level of my Judaism. All I needed was the entire idea of what it meant to be a Jewish woman, what it meant to be an Orthodox Jewish woman. And I loved it. And that sometimes leads to me, and all of us sometimes, not being perfect, whoever would define that as perfect. But I'm very proud that I always know I will get to wherever I want to get, because I remember having the same arguments and conversations in my head about what's wrong with the skirt, what's wrong with leggings at the gym, what's wrong with the tank top, what's so provocative about an elbow, to then dressing this way and not caring what's so provocative about an elbow, not caring, oh, why can't I wear pants? Why can't I wear pants? Just like I say on Shabbos, I know I have free will right now to go turn on that light because we have two walking legs. Thank you, Hashem. It's the second time I said thank you, Hashem, I think, this episode. But I don't, because I'm a Jewish woman, and I love that when I wake up and I put on an outfit that's like so tznius. When I went to Camp Adina and like I look like all those girls, we're all like so tznius. We're all wearing our little matching Yakira Bella outfits, long skirts, long sleeves. I'm like, I look so Jewish. And obviously people get me and say, you know, Judaism doesn't look one way. 100%. You are right. I love to say that you are no more or less than an neshama by the way you dress, more or less tznius. But for me, I felt so proud when I looked like my nanny moms. My nanny moms in my conversion, it was very intimidating because I had right in front of my face what I needed to be. They're still what I want to be. But I loved it. Whenever I looked like them, I was like, I fit in with them because I loved everything about what they modeled as Jewish women, the way that they ran their home, the way that they raised their families, their relationships, the way that they dressed, the way that they carried themselves and presented themselves. And so I loved when I look like them. When people are like, you look like a seminary girl, I'm like, yay, like they're so cute. Like I love it. And I don't know how to give you that feeling, but I can tell you to pray to Hashem, whatever mitzvah it is that you are struggling with, you pray to Hashem to give you that connection. Say, Hashem, I'm really struggling with tznius. Non-Jewish nanny or now Jewish nanny says she hates jeans, but I love them, Hashem. Hashem will probably laugh and say, Hashem, please change my heart to connect to whatever mitzvah that you feel will reveal you in my life in the day-to-day. And Tznius, just like every one of our mitzvahs, making a bracha on food, eating kosher, keeping Shabbos, and Tznius is just another reminder every single morning when we wake up about Hashem. I dress this way because I want to be identified and I want to be associated with the Jewish nation as an Orthodox Jewish woman. And once again, you can be an Orthodox Jewish woman and you can wear pants and a crop top and go girl. I am all for whatever it is that you're connecting to, because more than anything, there's no point in doing a mitzvah if you just do it to check a box, or if you do it with hate, or if you do it to please someone else. That brings me to my next point on social media. I think the biggest thing with Tznius and why it's such a big struggle for everybody is it's essentially at the end of the day a community standard. I'll be completely honest. When I went to go nanny in Flatbush, I wore a completely different wardrobe than what I would wear in Boca, than what I would wear for dinner out at Wall Street Grill in the city with my friends. And all the levels of Tznius that I dress and the outfits that I would wear to go nanny in Boca, to go nanny in Flatbush or Borough Park, Tom's River, or even to go out with my friends in the city for dinner, drinks, I'm proud of all those outfits. I would never feel caught like, oh, you guys got me. I'd say, no, I love my outfit today. It's just, I tried to show up my best self depending on the community. But unfortunately, what I realized with online and my social media is the world is my community. Everywhere is my community. I have people who are not Jewish, conservative, reform, Orthodox, from the Five Towns, from Muncie, from Brooklyn, from Borough Park. I have people who are saying to me, oh my gosh, I decided to like wear skirts because of you. I literally started dressing Tznius because you're my inspiration. Like I don't even dress Tznius and you really inspire me. I literally get people who say, I'm not Jewish and you have inspired me to dress more modestly in Tznius. And I'm like, wow, that's awesome. But I also get messages from people saying, it's not Tznius for a woman to be on Instagram. Which is why I did my whole conversion in private. I knew that if I showed up and said, hi everyone, I'm converting to Orthodox Judaism. By the way, if I said that when I started converting to Orthodox Judaism, people would have ripped me apart because I was wearing shorts and tank top and learning about Torah. And I was like, oh, I love Hashem. And like everyone would have said, what a joke. You think that you could be an Orthodox Jew because look at how you're dressed. But look at me now. And that's because I did it in private and I did it with true, like slow, true connection. And I still knew that if I showed up and even if I was wearing turtleneck and stockings, like the girl I mentioned before, she's amazing. But people would say it's not Tznius of you to be on Instagram as a woman even. And you just have to learn online that that's okay, because what people don't realize are the conversations you have in your head. I remember when I first converted, everybody approved of me. And I was like, wow, I was shocked. I thought people would say, how did she become Jewish? She doesn't cover her knees all the time. Or, you know, who's the rabbi who approved of this conversion? And I actually got that exact message. I actually remember, I'll tell you two stories. So one of the comments I got in my conversion where I was converting, nobody knew I was officially converting, but I did a Yakira Bella video, and it's the one where I did like two of me, like with the wicked sound stitched together. And it was winter. I was wearing all long skirts and long sleeves, fully Tznius. And somebody said to me, a man commented, you missed the entire point of Tznius because you're giving the men like a virus because like you're just attracting. And I was like, what? Everything, was elbows, collarbone, knees, whatever like guideline I thought I had to hit. And someone said, well, she's not even Jewish, so it doesn't count. And I said, but what if when I become Jewish, then it counts? Then it matters? I thought I was fine. And then I converted. Everyone loved, everyone proved, everyone accepted me, which I was so shocked about. Like I said, I thought people were going to say, oh, what? How'd she become Jewish? In 2 videos before, like sometimes I have to post old content, and like to this day, I still have old content I need to post, very old content. And I'm like, oh, like the skirt's a little short in here because I changed. As a fashion influencer, you get a lot of clothing. And I remember I converted, I posted that picture, and I packed my bags to LA because I was going to go meet one of my rabbis for the first time in person, Rabbi Mintz. And I remember I packed a shirt that was like a short sleeve shirt, but it was to here, like here, okay? And day 3 of being a Jew publicly, I posted in that short sleeve shirt, and someone messaged me, you're breaking Torah law by not covering your elbow. And another person messaged me, who's the rabbi who approved of this conversion? Orthodox Jews can't show their elbows. I was wearing a skirt. It was like at my knees. It was like covering my knees. And I was like, it was covering my collarbone too, by the way, the shirt. And I was like, well, that person didn't realize. And for anybody here who wants to look at somebody and maybe judge, like how dare they wear that to shul? I actually put that outfit on before I went to LA to go walk the boardwalk that day. And I realized this is the shortest sleeve I've worn in a while. As a fashion influencer, we have a lot of clothing, okay? I sometimes will not wear the same shirt like for 6 months. And I said, oh well, only outfit I have packed with me. I just went out the door. I said, I've worn it before. I guess it's fine. I remember feeling a little uncomfortable. I remember actually buying a custom jacket and I was like, oh, I'm going to put this on for the picture. And like, I feel like, look at me. Like now I look fully Tznius. But I posted both of those pictures. I posted a photo grid of me wearing the jacket. I posted one of me in the short sleeves and I still got that comment. And that person doesn't even realize that I actually did feel inside of me like a spark of maybe I wish my sleeve length was a little longer. And the reason I don't argue back with these people, the reason I don't let it get to me, sometimes it gets to me, but my rabbi says, don't let these people destroy what we worked so hard to build, your beautiful relationship with your mitzvahs and your tznius, because I know that you will grow beyond. He always says as a joke, you'll be the most tznius bubby there is. I know that I had the feeling inside of me when I first put on leggings and felt, I don't know if I like how this feels. And I wore them anyways. And then a month later, I decided to wear leggings and skirts and I never took the skirt off. I confidently say, don't label yourself. I confidently label myself and say, I wear skirts and dresses only. I made it to that confidence level and I'm happy and I'm proud. But I remember having the arguments in my head of, is this sleeve length too short? Is this tank top too cropped? Is this too low? Is this skirt too short? And before I knew it, the next time I tried on that skirt, I didn't like it. I threw it out. The next time I tried on that tank top, I thought, this is not for me. This sleeve length is a little too short. I let it come naturally and it will. If you're having those sparks inside of you, it means the spark is alive and it's growing and you will get there. And so to anybody who wants to criticize anyone they see, I've even been in rooms where I give speeches and somebody will ask me kind of an aggressive question. And I'll think this person's probably, I don't even know, somebody who's not actually religious, doesn't actually really know. Maybe they think Judaism is oppressive. And I remember this girl came to me one time, she was wearing pants, like tank top, whatever, not keeping Shabbos. And she said, this is actually the first time I walked into a shul in 6 years because I really wanted to hear you speak. And she said, and I loved every second of it. And meanwhile, I said, what is this person doing here at my speech? Because they don't even look religious, right? And she said, I grew up in Israel. I speak fluent Hebrew. I grew up in like a Haredi community and I hate tznius. I had people bullying me online who would say like, I'm so sorry I hated you because you loved tznius and I hated it so much. And to those people, I like to say, I'm so sorry that you had a poor experience with tznius. I am so sorry that you didn't have the ability to build your connection with Judaism and tznius the way that I was able to. I humbly admit that I don't have that trauma, but all I'm here for today is to hopefully inspire you and to show you that the beauty that I found in it, that I have had both lives. And that anybody out there who, if you have the ability to drive, to not wear stockings, to build your mitzvahs and your levels of tznius and kosher in any way, consider it a gift. And if you are somebody who you do not necessarily get the choice, your school's making you dress a certain way, your parents, you feel very oppressed even, pray to Hashem to give you that connection and say, Hashem, I know you gave us these mitzvahs and this as a path to the Torah lifestyle that you want us to have. I always say that I was a beautiful neshama back then. I built my life for myself back then, and now I transformed my life into the life that Hashem gave me, the life that Hashem wanted for me. And I think I did that with the path of all the mitzvahs as a stepping stone. I always kind of view it as my past life I built for myself. It was all me. It was all the animal soul, I feel like sucking me dry. Everything I did was to feed that part of me, to get validation from strangers, from men, from, how good I could look, how toned I could look, what fashion trend I could keep up with, how many likes I could get on Instagram, to then gradually taking on the mitzvahs that Hashem gave us through his Torah. And each one of those mitzvahs dropped into my life as a stepping stone and led me to the life I have today, transformed into a life that Hashem gave me and made for all of us, the way that it was intended, feeding now my, what do you call it, your yitzer tov, feeding now my true self, dressing this way because this is me, this is beautiful, this is equally as empowering, this is more empowering, and this is better. I love this life. I can't say I don't have struggles, but if you have a struggle, it just brings more meaning and more purpose and more growth, and nothing feels better than growth. To now I live a life where my life doesn't revolve around how many Instagram likes I get, even though it somehow became my entire job. My life revolves around thanking Hashem for everything I've been given, because I know my life is from Hashem. And if you're praying to Hashem to transform your life, to be revolved around Him, Judaism, the Torah's commandments, you can't go wrong. And it will become easy, because if you do your mitzvahs b'simcha, with love, b'ahava, that's how I would say it, they no longer feel like they are restrictions. The number one line I give in most of my speeches is the 613 mitzvahs for me, even though we don't have to do all of them as women, is they're not 613 restrictions. They are 613 ways to connect to Hashem in Judaism on any level. They all have different levels. And Tznius is one of them. And I'm so thankful. I'm thankful that I now went from a religion where the only way I could connect to God was if I stopped and prayed or went to church, to now where I can connect to Hashem through every aspect of my life. And sometimes I forget, sometimes I get too busy. But Tznius is one of the things that, man, even if I didn't want to connect to Hashem in the blazing, blistering heat of 95 degrees walking my dog, I did when I woke up this morning, and here I am. It's on my body and too late now. But thank you, Hashem. So I guess any last closing words or advice I could give to people who are just trying to take on Tznius is, don't label yourself. Try your outfits on different styles. Unfollow the people that make you feel insecure about yourself on any level and form, whether it be fashion influencers, fitness influencers. You look beautiful in both ways, I promise you. And kind of be Delulu. Trick yourself into keeping your mitzvahs. You don't have to tell anybody what you're doing. It's not between them. It's between you and Hashem, and that's it. I always describe my Tznius as the TikTok sound of people get exhausted trying to figure me out, and I just let them, and that's okay. Overall, on the physical aspect of Tznius, we'll maybe get into the more scholastic, the more learned part of Tznius and the connection on another episode. But I inspire you and challenge you, and you could message me and show me 2 outfits every morning. Pick out your not Tznius outfit and pick out your Tznius outfit. And if you look at those 2 outfits and you say, hey, both are cute, pick the Tznius one and talk to me in 6 months, 2 months, 2 weeks. Someone said last time in my comment section that I gave a dramatic bye. Bye.